Stop waiting for someone else to fix your story. Stop hoping for apologies, explanations, or permission to move on. The truth is, closure doesn't come from them, it comes from you. Every second you wait is power you give away. Today, I'm going to show you how to take back control, turn pain into progress, and create the ending you deserve, even when the world won't give it to you. If you're ready to stop living in someone else's timeline and start owning your life, pay attention. Because everything changes the moment you decide to act. Most people live their lives waiting for someone else to fix their story. They wait for an apology, a recognition, or an explanation that may never come. Waiting like this is giving your power away. Every day spent hoping someone else will make things right is a day you could have used to take control. You are the main character in your life, and the sooner you internalize that, the sooner you start winning. No one owes you closure. No one is obligated to make your feelings validated. Your story is yours, and it is sacred. Stop outsourcing your emotional agency to someone who doesn't even know your worth. You can't control their actions, but you can control yours. When you wait for closure from others, you are stuck in their timeline, not yours. Life doesn't pause for your heartbreak. Life doesn't wait for the perfect apology or for someone to realize their mistakes. You are constantly moving, constantly growing, whether you like it or not. The question is, are you moving with purpose or letting others dictate your pace? Taking ownership of your story means acknowledging that you hold the pen. It means deciding today how this chapter ends. You have the ability to turn pain into fuel and frustration into strategy. Stop asking for permission to heal. Stop asking for validation to move forward. Ownership begins with self-awareness. You need to identify where you are holding yourself back by waiting for closure. What are you hoping to hear? What are you hoping to see? Often, these things are illusions, mirages that never existed in the first place. You have to face the truth that closure might not come in the way you imagined, and that's okay. Accepting this is the first step toward taking control. When you can see clearly that your healing is your responsibility, fear and resentment lose their grip. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles, lessons instead of losses. Awareness creates freedom. The next step is accountability. Stop blaming others for your emotional stagnation. Their choices might have hurt you, but their inaction doesn't have to define your future. Every day you remain stuck is a choice, and choices are within your control. Ask yourself what actions you can take to reclaim your narrative. Write, speak, create, or act in ways that give you agency. Taking small steps toward ownership compounds quickly. Emotional independence is built the same way wealth is built. Consistent effort, intentional decisions, and refusing to defer power to someone else. Your story can transform when you commit to yourself first. Rewriting your story doesn't mean erasing the past. It means reframing it. You don't have to forget the hurt or pretend it didn't happen. You do, however, have to decide how it fits into your life moving forward. Pain is information, not a prison. Every experience, every betrayal, every disappointment is raw material for growth. When you stop waiting for others to provide explanations, you can extract meaning from what you endured. You can see patterns, recognize red flags, and make choices that align with your goals. Transforming pain into power is an act of ownership. You are saying, "This will not define me. I will define it." One of the hardest parts about creating your own closure is silence. People often wait for confrontation, for acknowledgement, for someone else to articulate remorse. But waiting for words is a trap. Silence doesn't indicate guilt, and it doesn't indicate closure. Silence simply exists. What matters is your response to it. Do you let it control you, or do you step forward anyway? Closure is not about someone else talking. It's about you deciding that you have spoken enough to yourself. It's about drawing boundaries, finding your own validation, and trusting your own judgment. The sooner you internalize this, the sooner you stop chasing illusions. Taking ownership also requires courage. It's easier to blame, easier to linger in resentment, easier to hope for someone else to fix your narrative. Courage is choosing discomfort over complacency. It's deciding that your mental peace is more important than waiting for someone else to acknowledge it. Every choice to face reality, to act decisively, to forgive internally, strengthens your independence. The world will continue to test your resolve, but each decision to reclaim control reinforces it. Courage is habitual. It grows with repeated acts of self-leadership. You build strength not by waiting, but by acting. When you embrace ownership, you shift your perspective entirely. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance, you see yourself as a strategist navigating life. Obstacles become opportunities, challenges become lessons, and setbacks become data points. You are no longer waiting for the perfect explanation or the perfect timing. You are creating timing. You are actively shaping the narrative rather than passively reacting. This mindset shift alone creates momentum. Momentum attracts clarity, confidence, and new possibilities. Power is found in action, not expectation. Another critical aspect of ownership is self-trust. Waiting for closure often reflects a lack of faith in your own judgment. You doubt your ability to handle the truth, to make decisions independently, to heal without validation. Building trust in yourself changes that. Every decision you make to move forward, every boundary you enforce, every lesson you internalize reinforces your confidence. Closure becomes secondary because your trust in your ability to navigate life becomes primary. When you know you can handle anything, you stop needing anyone else to make it right. Self-trust is both the foundation and the reward of ownership. Finally, taking ownership is a commitment to the future. It's a promise to yourself that you will not remain passive, that you will not hand your emotional authority to others. Each moment you act from power instead of waiting for permission is a moment invested in the life you want. You stop asking, stop hoping, stop depending. You create, you decide, you lead. Life rewards those who take initiative, and closure is no exception. The more decisively you take ownership, the more peace, clarity, and confidence you cultivate. Your story becomes a tool, not a burden. Most people wait for apologies like they're a key to unlock their peace. They replay moments, hoping someone will say the right words, as if verbal recognition can undo months or years of frustration. Waiting like this is a trap because it assumes power resides outside of you. The truth is, action creates change, not words. Apologies are optional. Your progress is mandatory. If you sit idly waiting for someone else to fix your emotional state, you remain stuck. Life doesn't operate on your timeline. People won't always acknowledge their mistakes. The sooner you act without permission, the sooner you reclaim control. Waiting for closure is surrendering your own power. Apologies are not the catalyst for growth. Your actions are. You can't force someone to feel remorse or admit wrongdoing, and even if they do, it rarely produces tangible change. Waiting for their response is passive. Growth, on the other hand, is active. Every step you take to improve yourself, every decision you make to move forward, is a declaration of independence. Action compounds. One small step toward your goals becomes a pattern, a habit, a momentum that no one else can take away. Action closes chapters faster than any apology could. Your peace isn't negotiated. It's claimed through intentional effort. Waiting for someone else to act is a delay tactic disguised as hope. You convince yourself that if they just reached out, you'd feel better. But what if they never do? What if their inaction is permanent? You have to accept that closure isn't external, it's internal. It's a choice, not a gift. You decide when a chapter ends. You decide when it's time to stop replaying the past. You decide when to invest energy into your future instead of lingering in resentment. Waiting creates dependency. Acting creates independence. When you understand this distinction, you stop asking for permission to move on. You stop needing validation to heal. Action over apology requires a shift in mindset. You must see every obstacle, every slight, every betrayal as fuel, not as a barrier. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can I do next?" Stop focusing on what others owe you and focus on what you owe yourself. Your energy is limited, and spending it waiting for someone else to validate your worth is wasteful. Every decision to act, even in small ways, rewires your mindset toward empowerment. Momentum is built through doing, not hoping. The strongest people don't wait for external recognition. They create results and let that recognition follow. Boundaries are action in motion. Waiting for apologies often means tolerating behavior that drains you. Setting boundaries is a direct, non-negotiable action that enforces your worth. You don't need an apology to decide what is acceptable in your life. You don't need someone's remorse to create your environment. Boundaries protect your energy, preserve your peace, and accelerate your progress. When you act to define what you will and will not accept, you're closing the door on stagnation. You're saying loudly, without words, that your growth matters more than someone else's validation. Your life moves forward because you acted, not because they apologized. Forgiveness is another form of action. Waiting for someone else to admit their faults can trap you in resentment. Forgiveness, however, is a deliberate choice you make for your own freedom. It's not condoning behavior. It's releasing the power that pain holds over you. Forgiveness doesn't require their acknowledgement. It requires your courage. Every act of forgiveness is an act of forward motion. Every act of forgiveness is a refusal to be held hostage by someone else's mistakes. Choosing to move on without an apology is not weakness. It's mastery. It is proof that your life is not controlled by external events. Momentum accelerates when you stop waiting and start acting. Waiting keeps your potential dormant. Action awakens it. You might start with small steps, creating, learning, exercising, or making decisions that honor your priorities. Every choice to act is a statement that you are in charge. The more you act without waiting for permission, validation, or apology, the more confident and capable you become. Inaction breeds regret. Action breeds results. Closure emerges naturally when you are moving fast enough that the past no longer dictates your energy. Action is a multiplier of power, while waiting is a divider of opportunity. Action also breeds clarity. Waiting for apologies clouds your judgment. You obsess over what happened, why it happened, and whether it will ever be acknowledged. Acting shifts focus from speculation to tangible outcomes. You start seeing solutions instead of problems, opportunities instead of losses. Clarity emerges when energy is spent on creation rather than expectation. Action allows you to prioritize, execute, and measure progress. You can't achieve clarity while sitting still and hoping someone else shows up. Clarity and momentum are married through doing, not waiting. Closure is a byproduct of decisiveness, not conversations that never happen. Emotional independence is built the same way. When you stop waiting for apologies, you stop outsourcing your emotional state. You realize that happiness, peace, and progress are within your control. The power of choice becomes apparent. You can remain stagnant or you can move forward. Every act of leadership reinforces that independence. You learn to rely on your judgment, your courage, and your ability to create your own resolution. Waiting for closure is reliance. Action is sovereignty. The sooner you embrace that, the sooner you stop replaying old scenes and start directing new ones. You are no longer at the mercy of others' timing. Finally, action over apology is about growth at warp speed. Waiting teaches patience, but not progress. Acting teaches results, resilience, and self-reliance. Life rewards those who act decisively, consistently, and unapologetically. Every choice to move forward without external validation compounds into momentum, confidence, and freedom. You create the life you want because you refuse to let someone else control it. Closure is not a negotiation. It's a natural outcome of forward motion. The world moves fast, and your growth must move faster. Action is the currency of independence, and every step you take invests in your unstoppable future. Most people think closure is a destination, a neat, tidy ending where everything finally makes sense. They chase it like it's a prize waiting at the finish line. The truth is, life rarely gives perfect endings. Pain doesn't come with an expiration date, and closure isn't guaranteed. When you wait for life to wrap things up for you, you give away your power. The stronger path is to embrace the discomfort, to meet it head on without expectation. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Every moment you linger hoping for an external resolution is a moment wasted. Your responsibility is to respond, not to wait. Your strength is measured by your action, not the outcome. Pain has a message if you're willing to listen. It's not a punishment, it's a signal. It tells you where boundaries were crossed, where expectations failed, and where growth is necessary. Avoiding it or waiting for someone else to fix it doesn't make it disappear. The faster you confront the hurt, the faster you reclaim your power. Pain is raw material for transformation if you allow it to be. When you lean into it, you discover resilience you didn't know existed. You learn clarity in chaos, focus in uncertainty, and purpose in disappointment. Every wound is a teacher, and every scar is proof of survival. Don't chase the end. Chase understanding and growth instead. The obsession with closure often creates more suffering than the original hurt. People replay conversations, analyze text messages, and imagine scenarios that may never happen. They live in hypotheticals instead of the present. Waiting for someone to apologize or explain their actions is a form of paralysis. True power comes from choosing how you respond now, not how someone else behaves later. You control your energy, your time, and your focus. You decide which battles to fight and which to leave behind. When you stop chasing closure, you reclaim mental space. The weight of waiting lifts when you act decisively on your own behalf. You realize that your peace is not dependent on others. Growth is messy, uncomfortable, and nonlinear. There is no checklist that guarantees emotional satisfaction. Pain will surface, even when you think you've moved on. Discomfort is part of evolution. Every time you face it instead of avoiding it, you train yourself to be stronger, smarter, and more self-reliant. This is not an easy path, but it's effective. Waiting for the perfect ending robs you of your opportunity to practice resilience. Action in the face of pain builds muscle, the mental kind that can carry you through any storm. You learn to tolerate uncertainty while still moving forward. Life rewards those who do, not those who wait. Embracing pain requires honesty. You must acknowledge your emotions without filtering them for comfort or social approval. Denying hurt or pretending closure will arrive keeps you enslaved to it. Confrontation with your reality is essential. Ask yourself hard questions. What am I holding on to? Why do I need someone else to validate my feelings? What would happen if I accepted the situation exactly as it is? The answers may be uncomfortable, but they are liberating. Awareness is the first step toward transformation. Once you see clearly, decisions become easier. Your emotional independence grows with each uncomfortable truth you face. Patience in growth is different from waiting for closure. Patience means doing the work while accepting uncertainty. Waiting means doing nothing while hoping for someone else to act. You must distinguish between the two. Patience is active. It requires reflection, effort, and strategy. It builds strength and clarity. Waiting is passive. It creates stagnation and resentment. Choosing patience allows you to process pain while creating momentum. Choosing to wait leaves you frozen. When you embrace discomfort and act in spite of it, life rewards you with clarity and freedom. Momentum comes from courage, not expectation. Resilience is built in the trenches of your discomfort. The people who thrive aren't the ones who avoided pain. They are the ones who stared it down and kept going. Every setback, every betrayal, every unspoken apology is a test of your grit. When you stop seeking closure externally, you stop depending on others to determine your worth. Your self-respect becomes internalized. Each time you face emotional adversity without handouts, you reinforce your ability to navigate the unpredictable. You learn to trust yourself, even when life is messy. Pain becomes a benchmark of strength rather than a chain of limitation. You also gain perspective when you embrace pain. The world doesn't operate on fairness, and waiting for it to is futile. Life is a series of imperfect events and unresolved relationships. When you accept this, your energy shifts from frustration to empowerment. You focus on what you can influence, your actions, your mindset, and your choices. You stop replaying the past and start designing the future. Perspective transforms suffering into opportunity. When you see pain as a tool instead of a trap, every experience contributes to your growth. Life becomes something you shape instead of something that happens to you. Embracing pain enhances your decision making. When you chase closure, you risk making choices based on hope, fear, or resentment. When you face reality as it is, your choices are grounded in truth. You act from logic, self-respect, and ambition rather than expectation. Your emotional clarity increases. You learn to set boundaries, to let go of toxic relationships, and to invest in opportunities that honor your worth. Closure is a byproduct of decisiveness, not an external event. Every choice you make while embracing pain compounds into confidence and freedom. You are no longer reactive, you are strategic. Finally, embracing pain changes your relationship with life itself. You stop demanding life to conform to your expectations. You stop waiting for someone else to give meaning to your experiences. You accept the messy, unpredictable nature of reality while still acting to create the life you want. Pain becomes fuel, not a cage. Every lesson learned strengthens your resolve, sharpens your vision, and reinforces your independence. You become a person who can thrive without external validation, without perfect endings, and without guarantees. Life rewards those who act, those who grow, and those who turn pain into purpose. Too many people wait for closure as if it's something that will magically arrive when the timing is right. They sit and hope that someone else will apologize, explain, or validate their experiences. But life doesn't operate on their schedule, and people rarely provide the clarity you crave. Waiting like this is giving your power away. The strongest people don't wait. They create. Creating your own ending means deciding what your peace looks like, what your boundaries are, and what behaviors you will no longer tolerate. It means taking responsibility for your story and refusing to hand your emotional authority to someone else. When you act decisively, you stop being a spectator in your own life. You become the architect of your own resolution. Creating your ending begins with clarity. You need to define what closure actually means to you. Is it forgiveness? Is it letting go of resentment? Is it taking action to protect yourself in the future? Clarity isn't given, it's earned through reflection and honesty. The world doesn't owe you an explanation, so you must generate one for yourself. Sit with your feelings, analyze the patterns, and decide how you want to move forward. Once you see clearly, indecision loses its power. Your ending doesn't need approval, participation, or validation from anyone else. The moment you define it for yourself, the world aligns around your agency. You stop being dependent and start being decisive. Action is the fuel for creating your ending. You can think, plan, and hope, but without action, clarity is useless. Write the letter you never send. Speak the truth you've held inside. Set boundaries that protect your energy. Take steps toward the life you want without waiting for anyone else to participate. Every deliberate move you make shifts momentum in your favor. Action transforms uncertainty into progress. Action converts reflection into empowerment. Action closes chapters that words alone cannot. You cannot control how others respond, but you can control the steps you take. Every choice you make reinforces your ownership and strengthens your independence. Forgiveness is part of creating your ending, but it's a tool for yourself, not a gift for someone else. You do not need their acknowledgement to release your resentment. Forgiveness is a conscious act of power. It frees you from the weight of their behavior. Carrying grudges keeps you tethered to the past. Letting go allows you to move forward unshackled. You are not condoning mistakes. You are reclaiming your life. Each time you forgive internally, you reclaim energy for growth, focus, and joy. Forgiveness transforms pain into opportunity. When you forgive for yourself, you close the chapter with dignity and strength. It is a declaration that your life will not be defined by others' choices. Boundaries are a concrete expression of creating the ending you deserve. Waiting for someone to respect your limb, it's futile. You must enforce them yourself. Saying no is a statement of self-respect. Walking away is an act of courage. Prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being over approval is non-negotiable. Boundaries ensure that your peace is preserved, even if others resist or react poorly. They signal to the world that you are no longer available for harm, manipulation, or distraction. They create space for growth, opportunity, and healthier relationships. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is strategic. It is a visible sign that you are taking ownership of your story. Taking decisive action also cultivates self-confidence. When you stop waiting and start creating, you prove to yourself that you are capable of navigating life's challenges. You no longer need validation from others to feel complete. Every step you take toward your resolution reinforces your belief in your ability to handle uncertainty. Confidence grows with action. Doubt fades with results. When you take control of your ending, you operate from strength instead of fear. You no longer wonder what could have been. You create what will be. Each decision becomes a building block for resilience, clarity, and empowerment. Momentum is generated when you consistently create endings for yourself. One decision leads to another, and soon, stagnation is replaced by forward motion. Life rewards those who act decisively, not those who wait. Each choice you make compounds, accelerating your independence, emotional intelligence, and strategic thinking. The more you create, the more control you gain over your narrative. The energy you once invested in waiting or resentment now propels you toward purpose and fulfillment. Momentum eliminates doubt, silences fear, and solidifies your sense of agency. Your ending is no longer dependent on external forces. It is a product of your deliberate effort. Creating your ending also inspires others, though that is not the goal. When people witness someone taking control of their life, they see the power of agency in action. They recognize that you don't need permission to heal, to grow, or to move on. Your example demonstrates strength, courage, and self-respect. The influence you have on others is amplified when your focus is on creating your own resolution. Leadership begins with self-mastery, and self-mastery begins with taking responsibility for your story. By defining your ending, you set a precedent for living intentionally. You become a model of empowerment without needing anyone else to validate it. Ultimately, creating the ending you deserve is an act of liberation. You break free from dependency on someone else's decisions, remorse, or timing. You reclaim your peace, your clarity, and your momentum. You establish the rules of your own life, and you enforce them unapologetically. Waiting for closure is optional. Creating it is essential. The choice is yours. By taking ownership, acting decisively, forgiving strategically, and setting boundaries, you transform your life into a story you control. Your ending is no longer a question. It is a statement. It is proof that your strength, courage, and resolve dictate the chapters of your life. Your life is too valuable to hand over to chance, circumstance, or other people's willingness to act. Every day spent waiting is a day lost to potential, progress, and growth. By creating your own ending, you assert that your time, energy, and happiness are non-negotiable. You honor yourself by refusing to linger in limbo. You demonstrate that independence, action, and self-respect are the foundations of fulfillment. Creating your ending is both a responsibility and a privilege. It is proof that you are capable, resilient, and unstoppable. The power to close chapters and start new ones has always been, and will always be, in your hands.